Carson, good to see you again. We've got a great topic, a timely topic today, which is around kind of the tumultuous environment that we're in right now. You're seeing a lot of cost cutting measures in a lot of organizations. You're seeing a lot of C-level changes or even reorganization or realignment within a lot of companies, some, trimming down, if you will. And that can make it really hard to navigate for us as sellers. So what advice do you give to those who are going through some of these challenges right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jeff. This is actually from the mailbag. I got a message this morning from somebody that I worked with on a project a few years back, and just I think you're seeing this widespread. You're seeing this with some of the organizations that maybe you're in or that you're working with as customers and prospects, and just so many drastic changes. Organizations that are trying to cut costs to stay ahead of economic headwinds, reorganizations, C-level changes. You see a new leader come in, and often they bring in folks that are, from maybe their history. So they're kind of building their dream team. There's political elements that are in play. A lot of changes. People handle uncertainty and ambiguity in different ways. And I think the best thing you can do as an employee today is stay informed. Make sure you're up to date on all of these things that are happening, that you're understanding the ramifications of each of these things as best you can. Trying to look a few steps ahead personally and professionally is super important as well. We have to be flexible. If anything, the last, few years have taught us is that there are a lot of uncertainties in the world. And so we've got to be able to pivot. We've got to be flexible in our approach, and we've got to adapt. Understanding the new parameters. Sometimes we have to take a step back, reset, understand the parameters we're playing in, and how can we best fit our role. But it's also all the more reason now why we've got to be that brand. You and I have talked about this a lot, being that personal brand, how you're ultimately selling yourself. If worst comes to worst, and you've got to make a move, what relationships are you forming that could conceivably be your next safe haven, your next hiring manager? I've found the best success in my career has been when I've actually aligned to leaders that I want to work for and work with, and gravitating toward those people. What relationships are you creating right now? How are you investing in your network? Being very intentional about those types of things and how you're investing in your network. Some of us are white knuckling it for a while right now, but you got to keep a steady hand on the wheel. And I think that's the key in ambiguous times, is that all this stuff's changing around you. Don't let yourself get distracted by the noise. I know that's easier said than done, but we've got to white knuckle it for a little bit. And on the other end of the storm, I believe it's going to be beautiful. However, living in it is very challenging, especially when you see all these people that maybe you've worked with that are no longer with the organization, or a lot of your footing seems very unstable. But be intentional with building your network. Focus on your development, these things that you can control. I even look back at this past year for myself. Lots of interesting challenges have been thrown my way, but I've been able to build a dream team that I'm very proud of and happy to work with every single day. And I've learned a lot over the last year. Spent a lot of time on personal development and growth. I've been overly positive. I was watching a video this week around the value of bringing, stoicism as an example to situations. And instead of looking at all the negative that's happening around you, what are the possible positives that can come out of some of the changes? So in the end, be good to you. Make sure you're focused on mastering the moment, and eventually all of the the earthquake's got to end. So just be the best you on the other end of it. What are your thoughts, Jeff?
I think first of all, I love that. I think I echo the sentiment. My boss paid me a compliment recently, which is rare for him. But I don't mean that in a bad way, but he's very analytical. And one of the things that he, told me, which I really appreciated, was something along the lines of like, no matter what happened the day before, if you had like the worst day, you come back the next day and you always have like this positive attitude, this like infectious attitude that goes throughout the entire company that inspires people. And like, you never let anything bring you down. And I think that, the reason I appreciated that is because that's something that I can control. I can't control, like you said, like all the things that are around me. Like I can't control when bad things happen, but all I can really do is control the way that I respond to it. And I think like in these situations, you always want to make sure you're providing as much value as possible. And selfishly, you kind of want to make it so that you're as irreplaceable as possible. And I think one of the ways you do that is by being a leader in the company, by having a positive attitude, by helping others around you, by stepping up to the plate. If people are, if there's positions that are being opened up or there's more work that people need to take on, being somebody who's going to take initiative and lead the charge on some of those things. You make yourself irreplaceable. You make it hard to put a target on your back, and I think that's really all you can really do. At the end of the day, if you're doing all those things and it still doesn't work out for you, I hate to say it, but there's really no point in getting bent out of shape about it because there's literally nothing you could have done differently, right? And so I always just bring it back to the locus of control. What am I doing that's going to make it, that's going to make it so that I'm providing the utmost value? Am I bringing a positive attitude? If I'm worrying all the time about what's going to happen to me, then chances are something's probably going to happen to me because I'm so preoccupied with worry instead of being productive, right? And so whenever, and I work in an early stage startup, so I have great days and I have horrible days and I have great weeks and I have horrible weeks. It's a constant emotional roller coaster. It's one of those things where I tell people the same thing. It's like don't get too high when you're high and don't get too low when you're low. And this is no different. There's going to be a lot of lows right now. You need to see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And I think honestly, like what I like to try to do, and especially with my team, is like show the paths to success. Like let's talk through the actual ways where we can get to the finish line, make it tangible for people, right? And I think that helps keep people motivated, keeps them excited. So for me, it's just, you're always going to have like these punches in the face, whatever. And, as Muhammad Ali said, it's like all about how you respond, right? So that's kind of the way that I look at it. It's like, I know it's very simplistic, but you can only control so much. Worry about what you can control, knock those things out of the park, step up to the plate, take initiative. And if it doesn't work out for you after doing all that, probably wasn't meant to be. So you're probably better off elsewhere in that case anyway. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I love it, man. Simplistic, but super poignant because, what I hear you saying, be irreplaceable, be the voice of reason amidst the storm. Look for ways that you can build community and add value for everybody that you touch. Those are all the controllables. And I think the reason that people freak out in these moments is because there are more uncontrollables than normal. And those are the types of things that can be cumbersome and be a weight on us. But the more that you focus on what you can control and do the right moves, you're going to look back and have no regrets. And the best outcome possible will be the reality.
Love it.
Good stuff as always, Jeff. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Carson.